I myself, the producer of this podcast, is not eligible to diagnose anyone with a mental health disorder. This podcast is purely for artists discussing the mental health hurdles they struggle with on a daily basis. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. My name is Pope-Orangeo. I'm an award-winning writer, director, and actor, and today I'm launching my podcast, Where Is My Mind? Where Is My Mind is a podcast focusing on mental health issues while being discussed with some artists and some psychiatrists down the road. I have to preface it, I am not a licensed psychiatrist. I am not licensed in any topics that are presented in this podcast. I created this podcast simply for one reason and one reason only. For artists such as myself to come on and discuss things that are detrimental to our mental health within the industry. Between feeling like an imposter or the pressures of making it or working a 9-to-5 versus being an artist. Some of you may have writer's block. It is a number of things. In this first episode, my wife, actually, Jessica Pope-Orangeo, wanted to interview me and ask me why I'm doing this. Now, I know I just told you in a brief statement as to why I'm doing this, but her and I elaborate a little bit more as to why. By the time I'm recording this, I have probably interviewed about 30 artists so far. Some I'm really good friends with, some I've only met once or twice. But it's really interesting to hear that we all have the same common fears and common goals and common struggles. So without further ado, here's the first episode about why I created this podcast. Where Is My Mind? A podcast about mental health and the arts. We hope you guys enjoy. So this specific episode was actually your idea. The entire podcast was not, because I know you like to take credit where credit's due. And for everyone listening, if you hear any sound effects in the background, it's our puppy, just being a puppy. I am talking with my wife, Jessica Pope-Orangeo. What's going on?
Hello.
How are you?
A little stuffy, but I'm good.
Yeah. You can move the mic closer if you want. There we go. So as I guess I was in pre-production for this podcast, you kind of came to me and you were like, well, I think you should do your first pilot episode should be me interviewing you as to why you want to do this. Knowing how you are, you're definitely not prepared to ask me any questions.
I got a couple.
But yeah, no, I think she also jokingly said like she wants to expose how it is to be married and be with an artist. We've been together for 6 years, married for almost 1.
Baby on the way. We're doing a lot of life milestones.
A lot of milestones, yes.
A year and a half, 2 years.
A lot's been going on, and I know that you've put up with a lot of my shit.
Did you?
I guess for, I don't know, as an artist, I guess for years, I still don't feel like I think you have better, like you view me better than I view myself, if that makes sense. You're kind of always the person to be like, don't you know how good you are? And I'm always like, no, I don't. And then you're like, you just roll your eyes and go to bed. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting topic or interesting introduction episode to kind of like segue into this whole podcast. I did want to kind of like just for the first episode, I'm not diagnosing anybody. This is just more so for artists to get together and talk about, certain topics that bother us, some topics that, we deal with on a mental health basis. You may not call yourself an artist or not, but I believe you are. You are very crafty. You can draw, you can paint. You have a Cricut machine where you design cups, T-shirts. You have a very creative mind. I feel like you're queen DIY. You do a lot of certain things. You are, I think you're the person to. I don't know which project it was, but you really kind of talked me through. Well, little did she know you helped out with, and then there was another project when we were here.
We got into a big fight for little did she know.
We did?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the fight? Are we airing out our dirty laundry?
No, but this is what happens when you have a creative husband who doesn't. And at the time, we were not married. I don't even think we were engaged yet. So it was.
Yeah, it was 2019?
I think it was the summer of
It was the summer of 2019 because we filmed it in the fall of 2019.
And
or 2018. I don't know. Time is a construct ever since COVID.
Talking about somebody who doesn't always value their work, value their own work, and always thinks it's like a piece of garbage. When he has an idea and when, it's a good idea and there's a solid foundation, talking through it and going through those motions with you has always been
tough. You can be honest.
No, I think it's been, some days it's a struggle because to tell you how good it is and tell you how great an idea is and for you to just say, nah, fuck it, it's dumb, I'm not going to finish it. And you're like, no, you're going to finish it because we've been talking about it nonstop every weekend and every waking hour.
At the time, we only really saw each other on the weekends.
Yeah. And
like all weekend and once a week. Like we tried, we didn't live too far away, but it was still just us working full time and my work schedule was all over the place. It wasn't.
Retail sucks.
It wasn't easy,
But that's what you do to make it in the business, I feel.
What business?
The business.
The business. So yeah, I know. Like I said, I'm going to give you full 100% credit for this specific topic where you wanted to ask me about it and where it stemmed from and all that. So I am now going to be the interviewee, I'm going to be the interviewee while you're the interviewer.
I've never had my own podcast before.
This is not timeout. All right, so we need to clarify. This is definitely not your podcast. This is not your own podcast. You said you want to do a podcast with your best friend. I have the equipment now.
I really feel like it's a really good concept.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can come over and
we're both really flaky people, though, so I don't think that would ever work.
Yeah.
But anywho, let's jump into this because dinner's on its way.
Yeah, we're racing against the clock of hunger.
So I know that this whole podcast thing started back at the beginning of quarantine. So where did it not?
In 2020?
I feel like that's when you started thinking about like creative flows and things like that, and like why you have roadblocks as an artist. And then I feel like it spiraled out of there. So what made you want to touch on this topic and make you really dive into it?
So I don't know if you remember in the beginning of COVID, I like banged out 4 or 5 like short scripts, maybe like 3 or 4. And because at the time I was like everyone thought this was going to be a 2-3 week thing.
Turned into 18 months of misery.
It's turned into a lot more. So, COVID has affected a lot of people differently, whether they want to admit it or not. You can tell it affected me because actually I'm currently trying to make like a new acting reel. And I was like, man, I really didn't work in 2021, but I'm waiting on 3 different projects to come to me that I acted in. And so I guess, like I said, I'm the king of like, ain't nothing going for me because I rarely see end results with projects I'm a part of or I'm doing. And it's no disrespect to like the artist who brings me on or even my projects. Sometimes I don't see the end result. I don't know how many times I've had to push back a film I'm doing with Steve and
podcast interviews.
And
life gets in the way, man.
Everything gets, and I got to kind of realize that like I'm not the only one kind of going through it, right? And I think that's where this stemmed from. Like I just casually like made a list of topics, posted them on social media. Well, initially I posted a status of like, would you guys listen to a podcast about artists talking about mental health issues? And from there, a bunch of people kind of messaged me like, I don't know if you're really friendly with her, but your sister's friend Daniel Mayer was like, why don't you talk about 9 to 5?
Yeah.
And versus artist. And I think I would like to interview her about that, or
it's
just
so
like
funny because
imposter syndrome. A friend of mine down in Florida, Heather Berkey, like we were in classes together and she's like, I think it'd be interesting if you kind of talk to some teenagers and see like where their mindset is. I have a few episodes down the line, there's a guy, Matthew Vincini, I think he's 23 or 24. He did his first feature at 20 years old.
Right.
And, when I talked to him about it, it was very, very interesting because I'm 34. I haven't done my own feature, so some of these kids are kind of coming out the gate like hot, so to speak. But I did this podcast because I was feeling very, and I don't want to say it to like offend you at all. And I know I say it all the time and you're probably like, well, what the fuck? but like I feel very alone. And I'm not saying like you don't get it. Like you
No,
tell
I
me,
get that.
but you tell me all the
get that.
time. You're like, I wish I had the drive that you have with arts, and I think you could, but
So fun fact, I went to an art school for college.
you did. You went
I
to
did.
FIT for fashion design for like, would it be for movies or
Like I went to school for fashion merchandising. So it's the merchandising behind it. So I could have done a lot of things with that degree. I'm now a food service director. So there I went the completely opposite path. But
I
I
mean,
feel like sometimes fashion schools in general or art schools in general kind of make you hate it to the point where you're like, this I cannot do this.
I
For
went
the
to an
rest of my
institute as
life.
well, not as highly regarded as FIT, honestly.
We're the #1 fashion school in the world.
In the world, that's crazy. And I went to Art Institute of Jacksonville, and they had like a program for fashion, and they had a program for photography and film and graphic design. And I see a lot of people who I went to school with, some of them are doing it and some of them are just like not. But like for the longest time, I wasn't doing it. And about a few days ago, one of my closest friends, when I went to start school with, Mike Britton, and he's like one of those friends where it's like we don't talk a lot, but when we do, it's like, he still calls me OG for Orangeo, and we kind of just reminisce. Like he was in my first class ever. Him and I accomplished like building the 35 millimeter lens together so we could use it. Like him and I were like thick as thieves at that point. And it's just I have to give Bailey a mic.
You really do.
But no, so I forgot where I was going with
She has
that.
a lot
I
to say.
apologize.
Not being in the industry.
Well, but yeah, like, and he's kind of like, I went to. He's like, I got to a point where I had to shit or get off the pot, so I'm gonna shit. Basically, like he's like, I'm done debating whether or not I want to be in this or not. And
right.
You as my wife and as my girlfriend and us being together for 6 years, you've heard all. You've heard and seen me be like, I'm done. Like, I'm over it. I'm done being an artist. And you're, all credit to you. You're very much like, no, you're not. Like, you're not done. Like, I'm not going to see you give up. And I get to the point where I'm like, well, ain't shit you can tell me is going to make me different. And then you kind of like, it's the tough love where you just stop talking to me, or you're like, do whatever the fuck you want, but like, just make up your mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, you did go to school for fashion. And I know you, I don't know, like when you watch a movie, do you pay attention to the wardrobes and stuff? Or if I were to do films, like, would you ever want to come on as that? Honestly, like I've brought you on sometimes to help out, like PA and just be there and be on set. You've done you were the slate master for Instant.
Damn straight I was.
You were on, Little Did She Know, you were helping out very much so on that day as well for both days. So like, do you ever see yourself eventually getting back into the art world? Whether it's not even if it's like a full time, but like if you have the time to do part-time artwork, like would you take the time to do that?
I feel like when you put art into a career or a job, I feel like a lot of people fall out of love with it. I feel like there's a lot that goes into loving something enough to want to do it as a career. And we always say, why don't you build an Etsy store? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Because then I'm taking out what I love to do as my hobby.
Okay.
And you're throwing it into what can I do to make money?
That's a really good point.
And jumping on your films and jumping on the shorts and doing things like that doesn't bother me so much because it's more for a passion project than it is for, hey, I'm getting paid for it. So I think that's what really disconnected me from the fashion world in itself.
But eventually I want to make money off my art.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference between somebody that has the passion to do it and really has the drive to do it. And that's the difference between somebody who doesn't have that drive and doesn't.
So you don't think
passion.
you have that drive?
Not anymore.
That sucks.
I love doing it for me. I don't want to do it for other people.
Yeah, so I think to answer your question in a short form is I decided to do this podcast for myself, honestly, and then just so other people can kind of express how they're feeling. I was kind of waiting on it, and I was kind of like, I'm not sure what I should do. And then like my stepdad had a stroke, and I was feeling very like, yeah, I need to talk about stuff. And
Well, we had that conversation too, and I had it with you and your sister, and it was the same exact conversation. And I think I asked the question like, have you done any art lately? Have you written? Have you drawn? Have you painted? Because Chris's sister, if nobody knows, is an art teacher in Florida. And again,
and on the side, she does a lot of really good art. My mom did art. I know your dad was funny. Your dad's like, Jesse is a fucking phenomenal artist. I have no idea where she got that from, you know. But I think that's why we all can kind of relate, because we're all very creative in some way. But yeah, you posed the question like, well, you saw me like being able to like. It's just been a fucking struggle throughout COVID and beginning of the COVID, or even before COVID. I was having health issues, and then I wasn't able to really be on set, and then I was getting ready to film.
If anybody who believes in omens, we should definitely not.
Yeah,
because
really.
The minute we moved in, Chris's whole body broke down.
Yeah.
Between double negative arthritis, diabetes.
Yeah. It was not good. It was fun. But we got Bailey
a lockdown,
and I went out and was walking with her a lot, and I felt like that kind of and my diet changed. My weight's kind of fluctuated.
But that also totally affects your mindset, and I feel like your health, your mental health in particular, and I think the both of us.
Well, not being able to physically move. I'm like, as a person now, I'm looking at it as a man. It bruises your ego.
Oh no, definitely, 100%.
Like, I'm not able to kind of do things around to help you out, and you know, my body was in severe pain. Like, just standing up from a chair was brutal.
Yeah.
And then getting a dog, I was very like, oh, I don't know, because I'm still working from home. I'm gonna have to take her out. Like, I don't know how my body's gonna do. But like walking her and
best decision we ever made.
Getting her out, I think really helped me. Like I said, my weight's fluctuated because I do kind of eat like fucking dog shit still. But like when I first got diagnosed with diabetes, I took it very seriously. You know, you didn't really bitch and complain. Like, you ate the shit with me.
I can't eat any more rice because of that.
Yeah, you're so upset that I eat rice.
I hate rice. I'm an Irish girl from Staten Island with a little bit of Italian sprinkled in.
Yeah. No, you're 50-50.
I'm 50, 25, 25.
Okay. All right.
I'm half Italian, but my Irish side loves potatoes.
On St. Patty's Day, you told my whole family, like, I can't believe, you know, he likes rice more than potatoes. And everyone looked at me like I just fucking said something like the worst shit ever.
It's true, because it's just fucking weird.
It's sacrilegious or something.
It is.
But yeah, no. So yeah, all that added to my mental health not being like good at all. And then, you know, right before I was about to film something the weekend after my stepdad had a stroke, I was about to film like, okay, like I got a good crew. I'm about to act in something. I wrote this stuff with my friend Jess Arena, and it kind of went all to shit. And I told her, like, I don't even want to do this at all. Like, if you want to make it, go ahead. And she's like, well, I'm not gonna
do it
without you, you know?
But I think, and watching you grow and watching you, because you've grown since we started dating, like in your field and in your art and in the career that you want to pursue, going from Spark, which was the first project I was around for.
You weren't around for Healing Heroes?
No, that was right before me.
I sent you the web series.
That's how we started dating Christopher.
Yeah, I sent you the whole web series. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah. So what attracted me to you the most was your ambition and your drive. And watching you go from Spark to other projects to, you know, just going on set to be part of the set.
Slow burn.
Oh, that was the worst, but I love it.
What? Because I was never around, right?
No, because you were... It was, and if Arthur, you're listening, I love you dearly, but that was, I think, the most mentally challenging film you've ever worked on.
And I'll do it again in a heartbeat.
Of course you would. Anything for Arthur, but...
Well, yes, but like anything to push me to that level, because yes. I think that's my best performance I've ever done, in my opinion.
I would, there's two that stand out in my head. That one and the other one he produced and wrote.
I was.
And yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I think it shows you in a different light. It doesn't show you in that like quirky.
Thank you.
Brother.
Because that's what I don't want to. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And
but I enjoyed Little Did She Know and playing that character.
But in which one were we just talking about?
I get what you were saying.
The other one.
Slow Burn.
Thank you. Pregnancy brain. In Slow Burn, you are this very like talkative guy. You're very lonely. At least that's what I took from it. And you turn the character into such a like towards the end, you know you're about to whatever happens, but
you could spoil it. It's been out for years.
Okay, so he dies, and it's the worst scene I've ever watched in my life, because nobody wants to see their husband brutally killed on TV. But you could see it coming, and you kind of like, even Bailey agrees. You see it coming, and you're just like, he was such a good like character. The character arch, and like you were going from like that geeky sidekick, and then to watch you realize like you're in a really bad predicament, and I'm in deep shit.
Yeah.
And then to fade out to black was just an amazing turnaround from what we've seen you in previously.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that was the best stretch of my acting career thus far.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest with you, because they were back to back.
Yeah. Arthur really pulls something out of you. And I think that's what a great director does. And I think that's what a great writer does. And if I'm being honest, I think he's
top notch.
He's
honestly.
fantastic.
Yeah, no, he does. And it kind of makes me question my own. And that's where I guess you can talk about like imposter syndrome. Like I don't belong on the same playing field as him, in my opinion, because do you watch Little Did You Know? Like, who did I pull out? Like, what performance did I pull out of anyone?
You pulled out a lot in
Katie.
You pulled a lot out of yourself. And that's not like just pulling shit out your ass, but that's like really like,
it'll be
because
interesting.
at some points you had your deep moments, you had your feelings, you had your breakdowns. So I think that you did Little Did She Know after your first part of Slow Burn. And I think your first part of Slow Burn was kind of like, because side note, Arthur filmed twice, like did the whole thing twice.
Yeah.
Like first they did it in a big mansion out in like Westchester County, and then they took little pieces of it, but he was like, I hate it, I don't like it, I'm redoing it.
Yeah.
So he built like a whole
shortened
set.
The script. Yeah.
He shortened the script. He built a whole set in his barn.
In a barn, yeah.
Like just the things that the guy did was just
to make this film, yeah.
Go
watch it on Vimeo. It's Slow Burn on Vimeo. That's the title of the film.
Yeah.
All caps. Just so you have reference to what we're discussing. But yeah.
But like it was two
but
different films.
The mental
drain.
The mental drain of that film. I had a panic attack on that set.
Yeah.
Arthur's dad, rest in peace. He was a chiropractor, and he like, I'm gonna readjust your neck and spine so you get a better airflow to your brain. And I was just having panic attacks. It was mentally draining. Like the last day I thought I was on set, I could fucking cut my hair and shave. And he was like, no, we're gonna need you for 2 more days. I'm like, I threw a fucking diva moment.
Chris doesn't usually throw diva moments, but Arthur really like pulls out the best and worst in people.
Yeah. For film purposes, yeah, he really drained the fuck out of me, and I felt like it came through on that set. But you know, yeah, it was very, very interesting, and I hope to be on more sets like that or projects. You know, I always have these ideas in my head, but I don't know if I'm like wearing too many hats. You know, the next few projects I'm doing are more on the lighter side, more comedies and all that.
They're a couple of my favorite projects.
Which one? Oh, the hoodie one and the When a Blind Man Cries.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Sorry.
No,
I'm so glad that I'm not the girlfriend that stole the hoodie. I'm the girlfriend that gets to keep the hoodie at the end of the day.
Well, no, at the end of the script, no one gets to keep it, but you, in general.
In general, I get the hoodie.
You're talking about
like
real life,
in real life.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Because that's where he got the whole concept for this film. Is I steal his hoodies all the time.
That, and then I saw a meme of a guy like looking in the mirror. It's your hoodie, take it back. I was like, this would be a funny fucking concept.
Because it's true. Every girl steals their boyfriend's hoodies.
Of course.
Because why wouldn't we?
Well, it's a territorial thing, It's what it is. Like you're pretty much marking your territory. The only thing is it's bullshit. I can't steal one of your pieces of clothing. And if I did, we'd probably have some problems.
We would. But I'll never forget my first boyfriend in high school. He remember those damn stupid Livestrong bracelets?
Yes.
Like the dumb ones. So
made by a fraud, yeah.
Yeah, made by a fraud fucker. He gave me his Livestrong bracelet because it was the thing in 2006.
4 or 5, yeah.
Don't outdate me.
2006, sorry.
Thank you.
Big stretch.
So he gave me his Livestrong bracelet, and when we broke up, I sprayed that shit with my perfume so he could never give it to another girl. I was like, fuck you, bro.
That is marking territory. That is definitely marking territory.
Yeah, but I gave it back. But
that's funny.
Yeah. But mental health, going back to it, I think
after I just exposed the crazy side of me, mental health.
I think that's crazy, but whatever. I think your films and the things that you do for other people, I think some of them are very mentally draining. And I think sometimes, yes, you do wear multiple hats and that makes it even more frustrating. But I also think that you've built a really strong team around you. And like with Andrew Froning and I'm trying to think who else. Devin, Steve Hanish. I mean, yeah, Steve. My boy.
Jess
Vasquez. They're just so, and even Gina Rodriguez, like coming on and helping with
certain projects.
Like I think you've really created a great group of people.
Sarah Kozlowski.
Okay, just keep adding people.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, like there are so many people. Even her husband, like
Darren, yeah, awesome.
Like just they're like awesome people who completely understand what you're going through. And I feel like even Steve, like you guys do your other podcast together, Ranting and Raving podcast. Yeah. I'm throwing in there.
Thank you.
They work so hard on it that at certain points that's draining. So like even to come up with ideas and things like that and be on the verge of like not wanting to do it anymore because it's too much, but then taking that much needed break because life gets in the way of everything. I just feel like it's all cumbersome. But once you have your group of people that you say you don't have, but you totally do.
Why are you exposing me like that?
Because I love you and I think you need to hear this stuff.
Because sometimes I don't want to be like, hey, are we friends? Can we film now? Like, I don't want to be I don't want to come off needy. And that's just me,
Angela, can Andrew come out to play?
Yeah, like I don't want to. Angelina, can Andrew come out and film today? But I don't want to just feel because I'm in this weird spot where I'm like, hey, I've seen your acting reel. Like, I don't really know you that well, but like, I love your fucking I love your acting style. Like, let's work together.
I love your vibe.
I don't know if people would really fuck with that. I think because this industry is very, very cliquey, no matter what level.
I feel like at any level, you just have to be like, let's do it. Like, you just gotta. And that's the best part of the film community that I never knew about. Like, I'm, again, not in this industry, not trying to make it in the world. But watching everybody that is trying to make it, everybody is so damn outgoing. And I'm like a little introvert where I sit back and I just kind of like, when we go to all these film festivals, I don't really say anything to people. Like I try to kind of let you do your thing, but like watching these people interact and
like
watching
Gerard
them.
Gorilli's father is like your wife is awesome. Like you sat and talked with him.
Well, yeah, I like older people. Like
okay.
Because they're not to me
easier to talk
sometimes
to.
I think it's a little bit of an intimidation thing. Sometimes I think, that world is bigger than me. And
well, I feel the same way.
You ever put me on a red carpet, I'm gonna tell you to bring your mommy because I don't know if I could do that. But I just think that everybody struggles with the same things. And I think this is a really great outlet as a podcast, as a place for people to come kind of air out their dirty laundry and kind of air out their feelings and tell how they feel. Because I think a lot of people are feeling these things and everybody's afraid to talk about it. Like, I'm not afraid to admit I'm in therapy.
So am I.
You know,
that's the one question I've been asking everyone on this. I was like, that's the opening question.
Yes, I'm in therapy.
And what do you think it's helped?
Oh, 100%. I think I've been going almost 2 years now since the pandemic started, because the pandemic really put us in.
Well, you're the reason I'm going, not because I'm married to you. No, I'm kidding. You're you kind of gave me the information to sign up, and you were basically like, I really think you need it. Like, I think it could really be beneficial. Like, it wasn't like a make or break thing. And I was hinting like, hey, I'm about to get married. Like, I would love to
not feel like this.
Yeah, or I'd like to get my head straight a little bit better than it has been. So I'm gonna go to therapy. And quite frankly, the initial things I've been going into, like I was gonna go into therapy for, I haven't even touched on yet.
Why do you think your creativity stopped? And, you know, some people have the opposite effect. But why do you think yours stopped when Jim went through what he went through? Because sometimes people pour it into their work, and other people kind of lose it.
Yeah, I think it was just mentally draining. I think it takes a lot for you to for me to open up, screenwriting software and do that, or even have an idea. Because I think initially every idea I have is great, and then I start thinking about it. I was like, oh, well, that's probably good for just one scene. My life just kind of got turned upside down, and perspectives changed, and I'm just not. I don't know. I just feel like I would say I don't know. I hate really talking about it, but I would say I'm more I'm a very sad, depressed person, and I try my hardest not to be, especially for you. So I feel like there's always people kind of make jokes about oh, that sad artist, that this artist, that dark, depressing, troubled artist, and I wouldn't say that's me. I try not to come off that way at all. I don't try to come off as a troubled artist, but I have a lot going on, and I didn't really know how I felt that way until until I started going to therapy. So, I just think, I don't know. I don't really like myself. So I think every time it takes a lot of energy for me to produce something that I really like. It's taking a lot of energy for me to do this podcast and do it and hopefully be proud of it, but so to do a project, I think it takes a lot out of me to put it out into the world, cast it, send it to people, all that stuff. And I wasn't really feeling, I was just been around a lot of negativity since September.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's
I
no
know
it's no disrespect to anyone. I'm not trying to air out any type of dirty laundry, but yeah, you're just, when something like that happens to your family, there's just, it's either people take it and they kind of you feel every little thing, every little day, every hour, or you're just things are going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And I think when people say one of the worst things I hate is when people say it is what it is. And when they say, well, what can you do? Or oh, you're getting too emotional. Oh, it's really not that big of a deal. You and I feel very differently.
Yes.
You feel differently than your coworker, your boss, your mother, your father, your siblings. So do I.
Right.
So I don't need someone to tell me how I'm feeling is right or wrong, because they don't know what the fuck I'm feeling, and they don't really know what I've been through. You know what I've been through because we've been together and I've told you, but in 2008, I lost four very close people in my life, and that does something to you. You've told me you've lost aunts and uncles here and there, but I remember going to a funeral with you, and you're like, I don't know how, like you were like talking on the phone to my mom, like, oh, he's such a trooper, and it's not even a trooper thing. It's just I've unfortunately been through all this shit, and it's not easy. Like it's fucking miserable if I'm going to be honest with you, and miserable, you know. So I'm just, I don't know. I still feel like I'm not. I still feel like I'm recording all these episodes and I'm putting them together, and then eventually I'm just gonna be like, well, fuck it, that's not good enough. I'm not gonna put it out.
No.
But I have people making music. I know.
Money.
I have people making music. I have people making artwork for it. People have taken their time out of their nights and weekends and weeknights. And
I've lost many nights with my husband for this podcast, so
yes,
it better be
I'm sorry,
promoted.
and you're gonna lose another month of it, which I apologize.
That's
but,
all right.
You know, I still feel like I'm trying to do a lot of these projects before our baby girl comes, and, you know, because I don't know, you know, in the conversation we had earlier today, you're not really sure when I'm going to be able to hop back on set and do all that stuff. But I have so many doubts about everything I do. And then you add like real life trauma to it. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to pick myself up and carry on, because I can't even pick myself up and carry on when tragedy isn't around me. I'm just in my head too much. And like when you don't think when you don't think really highly of yourself, working on stuff is going to be that much harder. Like I tell people all the time, I either think I'm the best filmmaker in New Jersey or I don't even belong. I don't even belong in front of a camera.
I know we totally had those conversations before, and I think I understand it from the point of view of you. But I think you give yourself such little credit. And that's why I'm so glad you're in therapy, because I feel like at the end of the day, something will click in that head of yours.
I really hope so, because it's you know, and you're like the only person I can talk to about, and this might be the realest episode we've had, but you're like the only person I can talk to about like saying like, this is how I feel, because I don't want to come off to my friends and be like, I'm not shit, because I'm not saying it to get accolades. Like when I don't know if you notice, when you compliment me, like I kind of like brush it off, or I don't even make eye contact with you. Or when anyone gives me compliments, I don't say thank you, because I don't believe it, because I think they're just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Like I really don't think I'm a good actor. I really don't think I'm a good writer. I just think no one has the balls to tell me I'm not good. And
well, you've been nominated for multiple categories in multiple film festivals. But
like I've said, where's that gotten me?
You shut up. You've won. Well, got me for one. You've won multiple awards for multiple categories. I can't name them all off the top of my head because there's just too many to name.
See, you're just feeding.
No, you've gone to Tampa Bay Comic-Con. You've gone to San Francisco Comic-Con. You've won at San Francisco Comic-Con for Best Short, which is fucking amazing. You've won Best Actor at Brightside Tavern Film Festival. I can name them all, actually. I don't think he wants me to, because then he's like all geeked out and he's going to get a bigger head than he should. Just kidding. But you're nominated this year at Hang On to Your Shorts for... Spoiler alert, as a supporting actor. So I think you give yourself very little to no credit. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm married to you. And I'm going to support you till the day I die. And haunt you for the rest of your life. So...
Well, I appreciate that.
You will definitely... I love you too. I will definitely still beef you up because you deserve it. Sometimes you just have to have that little...
I got you. That little kick in the ass to get yourself going. I know, and it's just not easy, though. And I know I'm not saying it because we're on air or whatever, and I do think it a lot. Like, I know it's not easy living with someone who's constantly thinking, like, this shit ain't going to work, but it's just tough because I think I had this thought in my head, like, this is how it was going to go, and it hasn't. But everyone's path is different, you know. But I don't know. I just don't want all of this to be a waste of time, you know. And I don't think it really is, because everyone can say, well, are you having a good time? And of course I am.
Oh, I hate when people say that.
What?
Are you having a good time?
Yeah, well, yeah,
I'm not doing it
but
to have a good time. I'm doing it to make a name for myself.
That, and I do think I have a lot to offer into the art world, and
yeah, I totally agree.
And but when it hasn't gotten there, it just beats you down, and people asking you, "Oh, you're doing this project for free? Oh, you're doing this? Oh, you're doing that?" It's like everything is about money, but at the same time, like for me, like this is not always about money.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you this all the time. Like Harrison Ford,
Morgan Freeman. They
all of them didn't get their starts until later on, and like even still to this day, like look at the guy from This Is Us. What's his name? Chris
Sullivan.
He wasn't in a lot before.
What's her name too? Who plays
Chrissy
Kate?
Metz.
Yeah, she was. She apparently had like 5 cents to her name.
Yeah, and like just you hear these stories and you hear these amazing like things, and sometimes you hate to say it because it's like fuck, like I'm doing all of this work, I'm doing this hard work, like what am I getting for it? But at the end of the day, not that it's fun and not that you're having fun while doing it, but you're doing something you love, and I feel like that fuels you to continue and move on. And yes, all of the awards and all the accolades are fantastic and they make you feel good, but you just have to continue that drive. Like you can't just, okay, I'm done now. I there's nothing more for me to do. But the fact that you have so many people that are on your side, for any artist or any filmmaker that doesn't have the confidence in themselves, or even screenplay writers and ghost writers, and not talking to any people in particular, but you have such an amazing team behind you, wives, families, boyfriends, girlfriends. Like, we're all here to support you, and you need to feel supported. And let us support you, and in turn, you'll feel a little bit better about yourselves. Because we're not just saying it to say it.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for hopping on here. Guys, this is just the first episode of the podcast. We have a lot of awesome people on. I appreciate it. I hope you keep listening. Jess, thanks again for helping me do this. And,
no problem.
And all that. And I love you.
I'm a producer,
and
so you're welcome. I love you too.
Where's the money then?
In your microphone you're looking at.
But yeah, guys, this is Where Is My Mind podcast, a podcast about mental health and the arts. I'm going to be your host, Pope-Orangeo, throughout these. And we're going to be talking to some wonderful artists that I've just met or that I've known for a long time. And we're going to be talking about a lot of deep shit. So until next time, guys, we hope you enjoyed this one. Once again, that was Where Is My Mind, a podcast about mental health and the arts. I'm writer, actor, and producer of this podcast, Pope-Orangeo. Thank you for supporting this podcast. And you can go listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Until next time.